Hello, my name is Johnny. Welcome to another classic collection item. Cool video for a model catalog by Monogram. I usually do my models are World War II 172 scale. But this is models for 1/32, and it's a neat catalog from the 1970s. To take a look at it, it opens up. They've got information on both sides. Has American and German vehicles. If you'd like, please subscribe, hit that notification bell, like, reply, and share. Let's open it up here. I'm going to look at it closely. That's one side. That's the other. Ooh, look at all those cool German ones. All right, let's take a look here. It's their Armor series by Monogram. Over time, Monogram has been sold to different companies, and they still around in name form at least, and they have some of the molds for a couple of these kits I think are still around fairly recently, and then you can get vintage kits. I had all of these as a kid and made them up then. Let's take a closer look here. It's almost exclusively World War II, except for what you can see right there. A Patton tank, very cool looking. There's Monogram ink. And where did I see it over here? Here it is. Copyright 1973. This is 2022 when I'm doing this. It's almost 50 years old. Armor series. See there, he's holding the Jeep. You can see some of the German vehicles. We'll look at that in a moment. Let's look at what we've got here. Personnel carrier. 1/35 scale. They say 1/35, but I remember the boxes saying 1/32. But we'll stick with this on what it says right here. Here you can send away for a catalog, a full catalog, 36 pages. This is one of the little brochure catalog flyers that came with the kits. Very neat here. This is a Jeep with the 37mm gun. They used that early on in World War II. They used that when the Americans, Operation Torch, November 1942, invaded North Africa, and then came along. They fought like the Vichy French, and then they came along into Tunisia to fight the Germans, as the Germans were pulling back from Egypt and Libya, fighting Montgomery's 8th Army. On this side, they met the Americans at first, and this gun was all K for very lightly armored vehicles that they still had. Maybe could do a job against the Mark III on the sides, but was quickly discontinued for use in Europe in favor of the 3-inch gun, or 75mm, the standard anti-tank. And this, they got their money's worth out of the half-track there. They did it here with the M16, with the Quad 50 cal. Very cool, very neat. Sometimes that's known as a meat chopper. And it's mounted on a Maxim mount. I've done most of all these vehicles in the 172 scale. There's the Amphibious Weasel. The M29 land and water vehicle. Can also go over snow. Very cool, and they give you a bunch of figures there. Yeah, it was nice. They give you the fair amount of figures with it, and then they had an infantry set, 18 figures, and it came with a motorcycle, mortar, and so forth. I'm sure they had a bazooka and everything. There's the Patton tank. And they had more vehicles, too, than they're showing on here. Let's take a look here. Let's first look at this. I remember this one had a decal. They called it Flower Power. Realistic, is a 50-ton tank named after Patton. 90mm gun. And I always liked that as a kid, that it had a rotating cupola with a machine gun in it. Very cool. And look at the Americans. They use like the American Sherman tank a little bit. Has very similar chassis down here as the Grant and the Lee. You can see these are basically the same thing except for the turret. Again, I really like the American one because it had a separate little turret where they put a 30 caliber machine gun in it. And see, they are calling these 1/32nd scale here. So I don't know why they'd have 1/32nd scale and then let's say these are 1/35th. Basically, they're mix and match. It's not that difference. It's like the difference of 172 and 176. 176 is a little bit smaller. And each company, when you see their models side by side, even if they say they're the exact same scale, there could be a slight difference, say a Mark IV on its dimensions. Very slight, very slight. Let's see, they've got the regular Panzerkampf Oregon 4, as I'm referring to as a Mark IV. They're not showing it here, but all of these came with a neat battle-scarred plate where they'd have holes and dashes cut in where a shell would have hit. So they basically took the Mark IV chassis and they got a lot of use out of it here. They're not showing everything because they also came out with an Ostwind, which is basically the Wirbelwind flak Panzer with just one 37mm in it instead of the quad 20mm. They did the Sturmgeschütz 4. They made a lot of those then, but they made a lot more of the Sturmgeschütz 3 based on the Mark III chassis. You can tell that at a glance because Mark IVs have 8 bogey wheels, and a Mark III has slightly larger wheels, and there's only 6 of them on the side. They use this chassis over here for the Brumbar. That shouldn't be shown as in gray, because this came along in 1943, and it would have been in the base sand color. And then there's the Eggpanzer, or Panzerjäger as they're calling it, 4. 75mm L48. It also had the L70 gun, which was the same gun on the Panther, except they didn't put the muzzle brake on that one. This one did get a muzzle brake on the shorter 48 one on some variations. Very cool, very nice. These also came with, these kits came with a nice fold-out, full-color how to make a diorama, and they did one each for each model, so those are cool. I might be able to find one of those and feature that in another video. You can see I have a little bit of passion for these models and these old ones from time, even though I don't, this isn't my scale anymore. I settled on 172 size because of space limitations. Then you could have a huge array of vehicles and then also use them for wargaming on a manageable size table. Alrighty, so that's very cool looking brochure of the past for models. Like I said, I think they might still make the Mark IV or the Sherman, which they weren't showing here, and it was reissues, and or you could get them as used kits on eBay or wherever. Very nice models, very cool, very collectible now for folks that remember them, and even the folks that don't remember the sets from the 70s. If they see them and they're model makers and World War II fans, they might like them. Till next time, thank you for watching.